Welcome to the Bitcoin Consciousness podcast. Today I will do a solo episode and talk a little bit about this podcast. What is the Bitcoin Consciousness? For me, the Bitcoin Consciousness is like the age of Aquarius, or the golden age. And I see the Bitcoin consciousness as a way of being more aligned with our true selves and nature and creation. And this podcast is here to explore different facets of this Bitcoin consciousness as we are transitioning from the Fiat consciousness into the Bitcoin consciousness. While the Fiat consciousness is fear-based, the Bitcoin consciousness is love-based. So all actions within the Fiat system, construct, they are based in fear, in lack and sacrifice. While in the Bitcoin consciousness, it's based in love, understanding, abundance, and creativity. When I saw this difference, I saw this different consciousness. I saw how much suffering we had in the Fiat consciousness, and I saw how much potential we had in the Bitcoin consciousness. I created an escape plan, you can say, from the Fiat system. How I could navigate myself and my family out of the Fiat clutches and to become independent from it. My wife agreed with me, so we did it. And we came to a place where we didn't have to live in fear anymore. It's only as long as we are dependent on the Fiat system that we actually need fear to survive. And Bitcoin itself is a good way to help us escape the clutches of the Fiat system and become sovereign. So when we come out of the Fiat system, it takes a while to detox the fear impulses that are built into us from our whole life and from society and from previous generations. But when we settle into the Bitcoin consciousness and start operating mainly without fear, then the fears become quite obvious and you don't want to really act on them because you can see that it takes you down negative paths. So when you settle into a Bitcoin consciousness standard, you start living without fear and you start acting without fear. And when we do this, new possibilities open up. In the Bitcoin consciousness, it's about being ourselves, expressing who we really are behind the fear programs. So whatever we do, it's not based in fear anymore. So we just express our visions, passions, or creativity. And somehow this has its own value. It has an intrinsic value in itself. It's like when we do something that it's not from fear. I mean, it's very hard to find in the Fiat world. So when something is not made out of fear, it suddenly gets an intrinsic value because it comes from a place of quality. So that's a whole world to explore. While in the Fiat consciousness, we always feel that we have to do something that we don't want to. So we are fear-driven, we feel we need money, for example, and then we need to do something to get that money. So we need to sacrifice our time, our body, our mind, and do something that we don't like so much. And then we get money as a reward for that. Okay, I know some of you like your jobs. So if we look at it like this, so it's Wednesday, it's like October, and you wake up. If you're true to yourself, do you really want to go to the job on that Wednesday in October and do things to get money? Could it be that you're suppressing any dreams or visions of a better life or of something more intuitive? Right? And this is what I'm talking about. And this is what I felt was becoming increasingly harder to live with in the Fiat system. And it forced me to escape. Because I could more and more feel my soul calling me to do various things that was not aligned with the job I was doing. So I felt I was called to do something, but I was stuck in my fear that I had to do a job to earn the money, to survive, to provide for my family and so on. So I was not able to follow the voice of my soul. And this became increasingly painful because I meditated a lot, so I could hear the voice of my soul stronger and stronger and stronger, while the fears sort of got weaker and weaker. And that's when we start approaching this point of leaving the Fiat system. Because when we start hearing the voice of the soul or our calling, then it's difficult to push it away. And this is actually what we do when we live in the Fiat system. Everybody in the Fiat system push away their soul or their intuition or their calling. And they believe the fears that they were taught from the schools and their parents. If you look at the Fiat system, it's like a school for how to push away your soul and how to learn to do things you don't like to earn money. So it's a completely fear-based system based on lack. So lack, never having enough, that's the foundation. It's a fundamental principle of the Fiat system that everybody should feel that they never have enough. And that's how it goes around, because then everybody needs to sacrifice more of their time and do things they don't like to get this that they can never have. While in the Bitcoin consciousness, it's the opposite, because it has no fear. So you feel that you will always have enough and even more. In the Fiat consciousness, we can try to imitate the feeling of abundance by sacrificing ourselves a lot. So we earn a lot of money and we can come to a place of financial security where it feels similar to abundance because we can buy almost anything we want. But since we are still in the Fiat consciousness, it will always be a fear of losing that. It's not a real abundance feel. And this is because the abundance we think we have is in the external world. So it's not intrinsic abundance. And since it's in the external world, we can lose it. It's like out of our control, actually. We hold it and we sort of feel abundant for a while, but we're always afraid to lose it, or we also try to become even more rich so we can have even more things. Because usually when we have more money, then also our friends become more rich people, and then we become poor in comparison, and then we want to go to the next level and so on. So it's still this lack, it's still this never having enough mentality or feeling or state of consciousness, the Fiat consciousness. So in the Bitcoin consciousness, the state of abundance or the feeling of abundance is something intrinsic, because the fear is gone. So it doesn't have to do with how many Bitcoin you have in your wallet, because the external world is always floating, and you can't really rely on the external world. So in the Bitcoin consciousness, we rely on our own inner state of being, and this is the Bitcoin consciousness. So when we feel our value inside, we know that we are worthy enough of having external wealth, then we will also have external wealth. I know this is tricky to understand if you are living inside the Fiat consciousness, because inside the Fiat consciousness you cannot even imagine how it is to feel abundance, because you're in a state of lack. But if you try to think outside the box, you sort of project yourself outside your own personal experience and imagine how it would be to live without fear. And then having this feeling that it's not about external wealth, but it's about feeling safe, feeling peaceful. It's more about internal feeling, and that internal feeling is saying that whatever you want to do in the world, you will find the people, you will find the resources, and it will happen. It's not only money we are sacrificing us for in the Fiat consciousness. It's also friends, our children, our partner. So every time we do things to please others, to live up to others' expectations, we are also pushing away our soul. So in the Bitcoin consciousness, we stay true to ourselves. So we don't just get pulled into what others expect or what others want, but we act according to our truth. And even if it's a little bit hard sometimes for people to accept, it ends up being a win-win. So rather than you play with your kids because they want to, and you're sort of bored going around there and having a fake smile, your kids can sense that you're not really there, that you're not really engaged, that you're just doing it because of duty. But in the Bitcoin consciousness, it comes more from inside again. So you have like a vision and you have a passion, and the kids also sort of get passionate about the same thing, and you all do something you love together. It has a very, very different vibe to it. And they can feel your presence there, and they can feel that you want to be there. When we push away our soul to do anything, we are acting in fear. So if we act to become more popular, it's because we are fearful that we are not popular enough, and so on and so on. If you imagine that we have an energy body around us, and it has programs inside, installed there by different events in our past. It can also be given to us by others, and it can be inherited from our parents. So we have these programs. And as long as we are in Fiat consciousness, they are fear-based programs. And in the center of this energy body, we have our node on the creation network. It's like a tap to the source of all creation. It's our private personal tap into limitless resources. The transition then from a fiat consciousness to a Bitcoin consciousness is when we open that tap and start filling up from within with our own essence. And as we open this connection, we will feel our essence or our soul inside of us and be guided by our soul to take actions. So in the transition phase, we still have the old fear programs mixed with the soul signal from the node. And as we meditate and open that tap more and more and more, we simultaneously push out the old fiat programs out of our energy body and become more and more in contact with our true purpose. For those of you who are ready for this kind of transformation, I will guide a meditation here towards the end. And if you are not willing to do this transformation, you can just turn off here. For those of you who wants to stay, these meditations can be quite intense, so I do not recommend that you drive. So get comfortable and feel your body. Feel your right side. And your left side. Feel how your body is connecting with the environment. If you're sitting down, then the contact surfaces around your butt and feet. Lying down, then it's the whole back of the body and your back maybe. If you're walking, then it's your feet. Feel the gravity, the force of gravity holding you on this planet. And feel your heart area. Imagine that the light in your heart area is growing, expanding in all directions. Take a deep breath in into the belly and the chest. It's like the souls of the people who are going to listen to this in the future are gathering around. Almost like reading a bedtime story to all these souls. Because when we come into the Bitcoin consciousness, we operate easily out of time and space. So future events, past events, sort of melt together. So we're creating these event bubbles. I'm now creating an event bubble. And if you're listening to this, then your soul or your spirit body or energy body is gathering around here. But you just stay focused in your body. Feel your heart center, the energy center expanding. And as you move your attention to your hearing, to your ears, and listen for any sounds you can hear. So the only thing that is important right now is the sound waves bouncing in your experience. It can be in your physical room, or in the headphones, or outside your house. So similar like you expanded the heart before, you're now expanding your hearing ability, like sinking into your ability to listen deeply. Feel your hips. And your legs. So feel the skin, the flesh. Coming into your feet. And grounding yourself. Imagine your energy body around you, stretching about 1 meter out from your body in all directions. The aura. So the physical body and the energy body working together. And in your upper belly area, that's the center of the energy body, the core. That's the tap I was talking about. That's the node. So you can ask yourself, like writing a line of code in your energy body, ask, how can I connect to my node on the creation network even more? And you might sense or feel or imagine this core growing and expanding in all directions, like a light. You can ask again, how can I connect to my personal node even stronger? And then just relax, let go of your expectations, and experience this moment. Just observe yourself connecting to your inner core, to your true self. It's not really about being a follower or being a leader. That's the Fiat Consciousness, where some appear better, stronger, more successful than others, and then others try to live up to this. In the Bitcoin consciousness, similar like the Bitcoin network, it's decentralized. And it's all about each individual finding their own strength, qualities, creativity from within. And as more and more find their own node and start expressing their own node, we are encouraging others to connect to their node and start expressing their node. I know that this guided meditation is not perfect. I could always do better somehow. I could say better things. I could have shorter breaks or longer breaks. But those are just rational, linear concepts. What's important here is that I'm showing my node. I'm saying I found my node. This is what I feel is the right thing for me to do at this time. And I feel intuitively that even if this is not perfect, I could do it better. At this time, it's just about me recording this for you. And by being true to myself, by following my guidance, staying true in every moment, I inspire others to connect to their nodes and do their best, even if it's not perfect. Because when we are creating a new world, if we are implementing a new consciousness on this planet, we are doing everything for the first time. In the Fiat Consciousness, it's about establishing habits and repeating those habits over and over and over again. In the Bitcoin Consciousness, you can't really use habits, because then you're just repeating the past. You're true in the moment. You know what's right to do in the moment. And it's like every moment is new. You can live an old moment again, or you can continue to live in the present moment.